With Elise Castonguay with Coast to Coast Scrapbookers, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to recreate a video a layout, I should say, that Brenda Rose created on the website using Booyah on the blog. And I'm going to, as she called it, a trick or treat of a layout. I'm going to show you how to use it tonight with Bright Delight. And Bright Delight was one of our secret boxes from earlier this year. And sometimes, once again, when we get some of these new ideas, although we always get a QR code to use with them, sometimes we're just stuck or we're looking for a different way of doing something. You can do this with any paper pack that you have. I'm going to show you how to be able to create this by welding without saving one sheet of paper. So that might be important to you and it might not be. I'm also going to give you a tip on how to create cutting out the mat so that the layout itself would be covering this cardstock. There's the 4x6 and 4x6 photo that you could put here as suggested by Brenda, or you could put 4 3x4 photos. And this is the photo mat bundle that you can purchase from our website that gives you 25 sheets of 7 different types of card sizes, photo sizes to help you with placement. It's actually called the photo placement bundle. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how to do this. And in addition to the 12-inch trimmer, you may want your scissors. I'm going to show you a tip that Brenda Rose suggests. However, I do something different just to show you a couple of other techniques. So here are my hands. For the layout, I'm going to be using 3 sheets of designer paper. This green one is going to emulate my base. And then these 2 sheets are what I'm going to use to alternate my colors. You want double-sided paper. I'm going to be using it so that I have 4 different shades. And then you want 2 pieces of cardstock. And once again, we had the bright cardstock sampler pack. So I'm going to pull from here. And in my sample, I used the blue and the green. So for this layout, I think I will use the purple. And I think I will use the blue too, the purple and blue. You know what? I'm going to use this shade of blue. All right, let's get started. So to save some time, we're going to be cutting 4 3-inch strips. And when I say save some time, if you have an opportunity to stack, you certainly can. So because I want to cut 4 3-inch strips, I'm going to start by cutting at 6 inches. Once again, you could totally cut 4 separate 3-inch strips. So here's one first cut. I'm going to stack these, and then I'm going to cut them at 3 inches just to save steps for the video time and also for creation. Now, I am going to use my decorative blade. In the video, I just want to show you that too. In the video, Brenda suggests using your scissors to create a white background when you layer instead of using a decorative blade. However, I feel like we have so many decorative blades. let's use them. So to create that sort of torn look, we're going to use the Deckle Blade. And we're going to be cutting 2¼ inch strips. And the reason we're doing that is so that we have an opportunity to overlap without using an extra base piece. So once again, as a time saver, I'm going to stack these two pieces. If you have directional paper, which I do not, it doesn't really matter which direction I cut this paper in, but you want to cut it horizontally. So if this was a pattern that went across, like these ice cream cones, you're going to want to rotate so that afterwards you can place your paper horizontally back across the page. So anytime you use a decorative blade, the first thing you want to do is go over on our 12-inch trimmer to the first dotted line on the right. That's going to give you 1/8 of an inch trimming so that you can have decorative blade on both sides. So now I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to cut at 2¼ inches. And although in Brenda's layout, she used 2-inch ones, she cut at 2 inches because she was not layering like I am. She did not, she used 2 base pieces, but I am trying to save on paper. I feel like I could call myself the frugal scrapbooker instead of ABC. But ABC scrapbookers, well, that's my initials, and I'm an elementary school teacher, a librarian to be specific. So here is my third cut, which is making 6. And then finally, my fourth cut. And remember, these are going to be 2¼ inch strips if you are going to overlap and layer. But it is not necessary. And the directions that I have given everybody doing coast to coast tonight does not have that step. Now, to cut the mats, we are going to go back to our straight blade. And for our mats, I forgot to add one extra tool. You can use binder clips with your 12-inch trimmer so that you can also make that mat that I was showing you. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our 2 mats. And if I want whatever mat color you want to have as your outer double mat, and for me, I'm going to do it with purple this time. You want your outer one to be your larger one and your inner one to be your smaller one. So I'm going to cut at 6¼ and 8¼ 6¼ rotating by 8¼ and then I'm going to cut 6½ by 8½. Now, once again, that could be the end of your mats, but if you are looking to save on a little bit of paper, you might choose to do this technique. Once again, not mandatory. For those of you who have never noticed, you have a 1-inch line here. When I say 1 inch, it's from the edge of this housing unit to this line. And so where this line is where the blade pops out here, or at least the approximate center of it. So if I want to start 1/2 inch down, I'm going to set my blade up here at, well, you know, for the first one, if you're going to do 1/2 inch, you can't actually set it there. But what you can do is if I put the edge, this edge here, and I start it at 1.5 inches, that means that I'm really 1/2 inch down. And you can't put the binder clip at 1/2 inch down, just so you know. But like I said, you're going to put the edge here at 1.5 inches. And I could make a little note of that for you. 1.5. That's where you're going to put your clip if you are using clips. Once again, not essential. And then since our paper is, for our first one, it is 6.25 inches, we're going to go up half, we're going to come down 1/2 inch below that. So we're going to come down to 8 3/4, which is going to put us at 1/2 inch up from the bottom. And I might actually go up just a little bit more. All right, so this bottom clip, as I mentioned, is at approximately 8 3/4, just for this piece. That's the top of the clip. All right, and then I'm going to be going to the 1/2 inch margin over here. Once again, none of this is mandatory. This is truly only if you are looking to conserve paper. Stopping at the 1/2 inch there. I'm going to rotate all the way around because I already have a clip in here. And I want this to be at the same spot. Now I'm going to change this clip. The top one will, actually, I don't have to use my clips. Now I'm just going to have my white line start where my cut line is, and my second white line is going to stop where my cut line is. And then I'm going to rotate and do the same thing. And once again, this is for a 1/2 inch one, not mandatory, but my white line is going to start with my cut line, and my white line stops on my cut line. And there you go. If, like me, you just missed by a pinch, you can grab your microchip scissors and snip it off. So what is this frame allowing me to do? It's giving me less weight in my album. And now I have a piece of cardstock I can use to create a couple of extra mats with. I'm going to repeat the same cuts on this one. However, the bottom spot stops at 8.5 here. So I want to stop at, I want to stop at 9 inches, because that means that this is going to stop at 1/2 inch lower. So I'm going to flip this piece of paper over. This is now going to be the top of my clip, will be at 9 inches. Once again, only if you choose to. And then the same up here, still starting at 1.5 inches where the bottom of my guide is. So same thing, I'm going to flip it, rotate it around to the other side. You know, one of the things we do try to do for our coast-to-coast scrapbookers is to teach you some tips with your tools. So now I have these two cuts. And so very simply, I'm going to line up my white line on the cut and cut down to the cut. It would help if I went over to the 1/2 inch line. One, and then rotating around, and two. And I like this really because you only have to use the clips twice. All right. So there we go. And now this is just going to be about assembly. Here is what it looks like laid out. And I just want to show you that I have just dry fit this. I will adhere it with my repositionable adhesive. But basically what I did was line it up so that I'm overlapping at 1/2 inch each time. And that was my reason for including longer layers instead of just doing the 2 inches. And that way, once you weld these, you don't necessarily have to have any welding strips on the backside. But just for recording purposes, I'm going to just dry fit this at this time. And show you how you can either do the 4 3x4s for your photographs here. And then on the right page, you really have the artistic license to do anything that you'd like. If you want to keep a full 4x6 vertical on the other page, you can trim these down to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 and 6 1/2 by 4 1/2. Otherwise, if you wanted to do something different, or if you wanted to just, if you had a large photograph, because this is now 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 by 7 1/4. So if you had a 5x7 and you cut the insides out of this one, you are ready to do a 5x7 right here. But as I mentioned, you could also trim these down. You could do 3 1/2 by 5 1/2 on the side over here. You have plenty of leftover paper. So you could turn this to 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. You could do a couple of horizontals and a vertical. Honestly, I leave that entirely up to you because it depends on what photographs you have. And then with this collection, there are some beautiful, and these are all phones in this collection. So I could just have good times and some flowers on this page. So anyway, you can continue to create your layout. I'm going to pause this and then I will show you what it looks like with all of my embellishments. But just in case you want to see how I am layering this, I'm using my silicone mat that you hear me talk about a lot. We love these mats and advisors are able to purchase them. They've also been available periodically for customers to purchase. So what I'm going to do is take this paper and the purpose for the silicone mat is when you use the repositionable adhesive, sometimes a little bit of it sticks. And if you did it on paper, it would be stuck. But when you do it on a silicone mat, that doesn't happen. So here I am. And I'm going to line this up at 1/2 inch, which for me is going to be 9 1/2 inches on my left side and 3 1/2 inches on my right. Once again, not something you have to do, only if you want to. And then I continued to go all the way through. You can choose if you had one pattern you wanted to show more than another, you could do that. I'm actually thinking I might alternate this and have break up my white. So this time going up 1/2 inch or close to 1/2 inch, I will be at 7 7/8 just because of how it lays out. And then right here at 1/2 inch. And then the last piece, I will put repositionable on both sides and just lay it across both the green and the orange. Make it shorter, but I will repeat the same process on the left-hand side. Finished layout. For those of you who I just put these puffy foam stickers are large enough, so I only really included one, but the triangulation, the way your eyes see things, I did three. I guess I could have done one here in the middle, but I did three this way for triangulation. I ended up just trimming off a little bit of the cardstock. So if you use two different colors and two sheets, you should have this much left over. So you could do another photo here if you wanted. I left this to be the exact same sizes that I cut out of here, so I can put a 5x7 photograph horizontally here. And I trimmed these mats to be 3.5 by 5 3/4. So you could trim your photograph to 3 1/4 by 5.5 if you wanted to. You can certainly, like I said, rearrange this however you like. I also added the 12-inch border strips. And if you use pocket pages, you do have the opportunity to drop both of these in. And obviously, one of these would be part of the previous two-page spread, and the other would be the next spread. But if you have additional papers, you can certainly do that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is in Brenda Rose's layout, she used 4 different patterns. If you are more comfortable just alternating between two, you could do that as well. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing what those of you in Coast to Coast scrapbookers put in our albums.